Hello, everybody. Recap day 5. This is the last day. This was the last day of the rabbinic mission and equally powerful. We started out at the hotel, the Shalom Hotel in Beit Vagan, where we met with the settlement, the Yishuv of Kibbutz Naveh. The majority of the families are living in this hotel. They're all displaced. Thankfully, Baruch Hashem, no terrorist infiltrated their community. They were saved, and the homes were spared as well. But they cannot be down south; it's too dangerous for them. So they're all here, displaced, living in the Shalom Hotel. All their meals are taken care of, and they have school in the building. So everything takes place there. It's a little bit cramped. It's not the greatest of accommodations, but it certainly works for now. But they hope to get back. We actually got to daven in the morning with the kids, and what a zechus, such a beautiful experience to daven with these kids, middle school kids mostly, davening with so much kavana. Got to shake their hands, give them high fives like I usually do with the kids in shul. Got to dance with them. It was beautiful, really heartwarming to see these kids and their resilience throughout this ordeal. From there, we went to Har Herzl and attended the funeral of Rose Lubin, Aleha Shalom. Hashem Yimkom Dameh. She was murdered. She was stabbed to death by an Arab terrorist in Shar Shechem when she was guarding the old city a few days back. She is from Atlanta originally before making Aliyah. Thousands and thousands of Jews of all stripes were at this funeral. It was beautiful to see the Achdus, everyone representing, to be there to provide the Kavod HaMeis, the honor for the deceased. It was powerful. The mother read her bat mitzvah speech and spoke about the power of forgiveness, and it was this girl, this young lady, was a special woman of many talents, and it was pretty clear for everyone who was there to learn how amazing of a person that she was. And it was interesting to note that a couple of weeks ago, I was told that Nativ Aryeh, the yeshiva, had a barbecue on the rooftop, and they invited Chayalim to attend, and she was there, and she actually spoke to the kids just 2 weeks ago. That's really, really special. From there, we went to the Herzl Museum, and at the Herzl Museum, we met with other rabbis who are rabbis of different communities throughout Israel. Communities that are real Israel. In other words, not where the Americans hang out. These are all Israeli communities, and we got to speak to them, learn from them how they are becoming more Americanized in the sense that they're learning the style of what it means to be shul rav, and that's being spearheaded by Rabbi David Fine with the organization Barkai that he has been running for the last number of years, and they're really appreciative to him for his work. And yeah, so we shared ideas, spoke about different challenges, how we deal with certain things in America, how the anti-Semitism is dealing with, uh, understanding the differences of Reform, Conservative, and Orthodox in America versus what it means to have different streams of Jews here in Israel. Obviously, a much different situation. Most of them didn't even realize, for example, that the Orthodox Jewry is only about 3%, 10%, I'm sorry, of the Jewish population in America, and the Jewish population in America is 3% of the country. So we're small. We're a subset of a subset. We're very, very small. They didn't realize that how small we were compared to the Dati community in Israel. From there, we then heard from Rabbi Slutsky. Rabbi Slutsky's story is just unbearable and unfathomable. Rabbi Slutsky's was a rabbi in Ramot, and two of his boys went on October 7th. They ran to the attack and did whatever they could to prevent the terrorists from continuing to hurt other Jews, and unfortunately, both of them were killed. One brother and a younger brother, both of them were killed. Eyewitnesses reported back that the two of them were able to kill between 20 and 40 terrorists before succumbing to their wounds. And unfortunately, one of the brothers actually was burnt and was hard to identify. So he told us a story within a story, which again it was heartbreaking. But the story within the story was that they did DNA test to make sure, because in order to you have to identify the body, and the body was burnt. So they did a DNA test to make sure that the DNA matches what they have on record, and it did not match. They were I couldn't believe it because they knew that he had a watch, and the watch that he was that the on the body was the same watch that his wife said he was wearing on Shabbos when he went out. And so they said, okay, you know what? Let's do another DNA test. And they ran another DNA test, and once again it showed that it wasn't a match, which was heartbreaking. And then he had a ring, and his wife said, yes, that ring is his ring. In fact, they knew that it would be his ring. Why? Because that ring was made by, I think, her father-in-law, or her father, I mean, or grandfather, and it was engraved the same exact words and that were engraved in the ring that he had the name of the father or the grandfather, whoever made it, whoever designed the ring. And despite the fact that that was a proof without a shadow of a doubt that this was certainly him, according to the rules of the IDF, if you do two DNA tests and there's no match, doesn't matter what you show, it's automatically not considered a match. And they had a problem; they couldn't identify the body, so they had no closure, even though they knew it was him. So they tried something else, which again, mazel, under the circumstances, the boy, the younger brother that died, had an identical twin. And what they did was they took a DNA sample from the twin brother who was living, and they matched it up with the DNA of the deceased brother, and it was a perfect match. Which that which then they were able to use to show that this was in fact the person. Clearly, there was some sort of error on the intake, that somehow they didn't take his DNA properly. And that, so you could see sometimes how fragile how this could be, how important taking DNA is. Like one little mess up can lead to terrible situations, a gunot, and so on and so forth. But that was just to hear the story of his two boys being killed on October 7th, and the heroism, but at the same time their tragic end. It was rough, certainly rough. From there, we went to Hamal. Hamal is, I think it's called Cheder la Milchama, where they have volunteers round the clock. 4,000 volunteers have descended on Yerushalayim to help the war effort, whether it's providing food for displaced people, whether it's getting equipment supplies to the army, whether it's driving items to different places to help out, having a dispatch service. They do everything, and these are all volunteers, students or volunteers. It's amazing to think about. You know where all these volunteers came from? They were all protesting against the government. They had 10,000 people in their WhatsApp groups, and all of them said, you know what? This is no longer time to protest. Now we have to get together and do whatever we can to help our country. So you could just understand that you have groups here who are anti-protest, anti-judicial reforms, pro-judicial reforms. Everything is put aside. They're all collaborating and working together in order to make a difference for Am Yisrael. It's an amazing thing. It's heartbreaking that this is what it has taken to bring people together, and who knows what it'll look like afterwards. But it's amazing what they're doing now, what they're able to accomplish, because they had this grassroots organization already in place. They were able to mobilize fairly quickly. They have 350 volunteers a day, which is awesome. There's so much going on. They have a store with clothing. If you just walk in to the Gemach, you take whatever clothes you want. They are there to provide support for all of the displaced families, all the needy families. It is amazing. Apparently, there's another Hamal, a main one in Tel Aviv, which is again just to experience it, to be there to see what is there, pastas, soaps, uh, anything, anything. They have it, and they're able to provide it for these families. From the Hamal, then we went to the Leonardo Hotel. At the Leonardo Hotel, formerly the Sheraton, is another displaced community, and this is the majority of the community of Kfar Maimon. Now, of course, Kfar Maimon got the better end of the deal. They're in the Sheraton, whereas the other families from uh, Yishuv Kibbutz Naveh, they're in the Shalom Hotel. Okay, I'm not sure who decides where to go, but they're obviously having a much better experience at the Sheraton because the accommodations are nicer. But they are there also again 3 meals a day, getting everything that they need, but they want to go home. But at the same time, there's a lot of trauma. There, all the rockets, like in Kibbutz Naveh, when the rockets came, the rockets were flying all over that day, and everyone was nervous, didn't know what to do. One of the representatives from Kfar Maimon told us that he said to his daughter on Simchas Torah, he said when all the sirens were going off and they heard that Mechablim were around, their terrorists were around, he said hide under the bed. So she hid under the bed, and even now at the Sheraton Hotel, she's still afraid to sleep on her bed. She sleeps under her bed. And these are some of the mental health issues that will continue to persist with all of those who have been displaced and all the trauma that they've been through for a while. They need to get the psychological help in order to improve their quality of life moving forward. But at the same time, overall, the morale is good. They again, their Yishuv, another miracle, an unbelievable miracle. The On October 7th, a helicopter with paratroopers went into the south to help. They asked the IDF for directions where to go, where should they be. The IDF said, we don't know where you should land. We don't know where it's safe. They were planning to land in Be'eri, which would not have been a good situation. And they ultimately decided, I believe, that they were going to go to a certain cemetery or whatnot. And then at some point, their helicopter was shot at, and one of the engines was hit, and the engine started to fail. And as a result, they started landing. They actually landed is the wrong word. They actually were in Kfar Maimon. What happened was all of the paratroopers jumped out of the helicopter to safety. One of them was hit with a couple bullets and was struggling to get out. The pilot grabbed this last individual, threw him, brought him over. I don't know if it was bullets or he got stuck. I forget the exact details. He grabbed him and was able to jump and save him as well. And just as that happened, an RPG hit the airplane, the helicopter, and it exploded. He showed us video of the helicopter on fire. What was an even greater miracle is that there were 50 terrorists waiting for these paratroopers, and not one paratrooper was injured. They killed and eliminated every single one of those terrorists. If you can only imagine what Kfar Maimon would have looked like if not for this miracle that they ended up landing outside the by this cemetery and whatnot, and they managed to eliminate all these terrorists and not a single injury, which was again Nisim Viniflot. And that was our day. That was the end. We got to daven mincha with the group, but it was an emotional day. Learning again. Here we interacted with those who have been seriously affected, having to leave, pick up their lives, and move to a strange place. Maybe not totally strange, but a new digs, new culture, new place, and not being in your home, not being in your bed. It's not the same. It's hard, and that was the. But they're powerful, and that's what we had. And they're resilient, and that's what we learned. And that was the end of our trip. Again, it was to be able to see all the different sectors of Israel and what they're dealing with, the trauma, the heroism, the mixed emotions. There's so much being thankful for being saved, but mourning all of the losses. but Israel's strong. They really are strong. The sense of Achdus, I know we hear about it in America and we see the videos, but when you're here, it's it's just on another level. The cooperation, the collaboration, the love for each other. I mean, Yerushalayim, for the most part, is pretty much back to normal right now. I mean, I went out to dinner tonight with my family, my parents. People are out. There's traffic on the streets. Buses are running as normal. It just feels like it's almost back to normal. Who knows what next week brings? But everything just seems very normal. And again, I've been here for a week. I haven't heard one siren. Again, doesn't mean I won't. There's still a couple days to go. But I haven't heard a siren. So you kind of feel, I think I mentioned this yesterday, you feel like in a, you're watching a movie or you're visiting a museum of this is what happened here, this is what happened there. And you hear about how people have been affected. But at the same time, you don't always feel it in some ways. So it's interesting. I feel completely safe and lucky to be here, but just to get the chance to be your shaliach to learn about all the needs here and to be able to provide for different communities is amazing. I think I mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again. We're fortunate to have provided tzedakah to Barkai. We're providing not just for the rabbis, but also for soldiers' needs too. We're providing busing for children who are from Sderot, who need to get to school. They don't have busing. They have to hire buses in order to get these kids back and forth from school. Giving flowers to communities where the husbands are all gone, the wives are essentially in this 100 family yishuv. Only 25 men are left. The rest of them are in the army, giving them flowers, giving them chizuk so that they can have a Shabbos, knowing that people are thinking about them and caring about them, providing candies and pekalach for a couple hundred kids in a school to give them chizuk. They're displaced, they're struggling, their parents are gone, and we're making a difference in people's lives. Again, this is on a small scale. We hope to give to a couple other tzedakos as well. We're giving. Oh yes, we're giving to another tzedakah which Rav Rimon is in charge of. I may have mentioned this yesterday, but I forget. Everything is a blur. Where they're helping displaced families get jobs. Because again, this is long. Before anything gets back to normal, you're thinking 6 months before everything kind of ramps back up. You have to remember to go back south. It's not just okay, time to go back home. You have to make sure that first the war has to finish, and then after that you have to build walls or whatever structures you need to get the security in place. So this is a long-term process. So to help people get jobs, get back on their feet. That again, another important way to make an impact in the lives of many people. So our tzedakah is going to important places, and I'll be going to a few other important places, and we're lucky to have this chus to do this. But as we were told, the bigger need is going to be in the future. There are many needs, especially for the people in the South. A lot of their funding, their jobs come from farming, and whether it's milk or tomatoes or other vegetables, that's where a lot of their money comes from, their income. And right now, there's no one to pick the fruits, the vegetables. All the workers are from Thailand, and some of the workers from Thailand are hostages, and the rest of them just fled the country. They went back home. There's no one there, and there's no one down south. Which who knows what that means for the supply chain 6 months from now or a year from now. Who's no one's milking the cows, so or the goats. So what exactly is going to happen? How are we going to have what we need? So these are the things that we think about, and it could be that right now the needs might even be less than what the needs are going to be 6 months and a year from now, maybe even 2 years from now. So we have to think about that when we're giving tzedakah. That you have to be like Yosef. Yosef collected for 7 years for the 7 years of plenty before the 7 years of famine. So as important as it is to give tzedakah, we also have to keep in mind the importance of collecting money, but not spending it right away, holding on to it, growing what we have, and then being able to give an even bigger contribution to Eretz Yisrael later. All right, another 20 minuter that I have this stream of consciousness. Thank you for listening and following along. This Shabbos, I will be speaking at a shul in Yerushalayim. I will be representing our community proudly to give chizuk to those that live here. I have a flyer which I will be sending out, and hopefully people who are in the area can join. At the same time, I also wanted to mention that on my Google Photos, which the link was sent out the other day, so the all of the photos that I've been taking over the trip are there. So it's not just for each day, not just for one particular day. All the photos are there. So you can see everything that I have been seeing, and I hope that you can find it as meaningful as it has been for me and for Nava. We thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for allowing us to be your shlichim, and we hope to see you soon in a couple days. I don't intend to anticipate having an update for you tomorrow. I'm preparing for Shabbos, and on Motzei Shabbos, I will be heading back home with Nava and with Oma. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful Shabbos. See you soon.